It was. It's like, man, a lawsuit is just a really intense negotiation.
Is that what it is?
That's basically what I've learned.
And there may be our poll quote right there.
Yeah.
A lawsuit is just a really intense
intense
negotiation.
Come on, Jonathan, let's talk to people for a while. Ladies and gentlemen, Jonathon Stranger. Do we have all of our mics back on now that I peeled mine off? Yours on?
Yes.
He's down by his cool sunglasses up there.
Thank you.
So my first question is, I've always had this question, even from this interview right here. What in the heck happened with the Ferris wheel thing? If you guys saw that or not, they did a multi-course food thing on a moving Ferris wheel. So what worked well about that, and what was horrible about that?
The shock and awe factor, I think, was the biggest success.
Okay.
To be able to dine that way for people to, whenever I want to do an event, I want it to be something special.
Okay.
You know, I feel like there's so many events going on in Oklahoma City now, which is wonderful, and all over the world that I get to be involved with. So it's, if you want to do one, make it really something, and kind of always, I think with tech and any business you're involved with, you want to kind of try to leapfrog or set the standard. So it's like, if we can pull this off, that'll be awesome. So it was more than just come and sit on the Ferris wheel and eat. There was a huge band, and we recreated, I'm blanking the name of it now, but it was the World's Fair from 1939, New York City, La Restaurant Francois. So we recreated their menus, the band, the music, everything was recreated in this beautiful site. But still, the most difficult part was they're on a Ferris wheel.
Right.
So you can't really do anything about it. Like, we're like, oh, silverware, that stuff's easy. And then we're like, what if someone drops a glass from 100 feet up? And they're like, well, who's down below? It's like, I am cooking.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Or it's raining glass on the people that are at the bottom of the loop.
yeah, it's a terrible decision. So it was, how do you do this high level of food and make it comfortable eating it with plastic silverware, plastic knives? And we actually got a lot of people helping with, I was probably 50 or 60 people help make the thing happen and go off well, and it went really well. But like I said, we didn't make any money, but that can't be the reason you do everything. It was just,
It was fun.
it was really fun to do. It was a lot of hard work. I think everybody really enjoyed themselves, like I said in the video. Hopefully it's an event people remember.
Right.
And yeah, and that was it. The alcohol was probably also the biggest challenge. So we ended up just giving them a bottle of wine.
I would think one of the challenges for me, I don't know about anybody else, is drinking alcohol on a moving object.
It's
I
great.
mean, it's
great.
it's
Like
this
boats.
way, but versus like boats and everything.
Yeah, boats are great.
Boats are great.
Yeah. Big ones.
Big ones,
Big boats.
not the small like canoes, like
You
the
can drink out of
kayaks.
canoe. Yeah, you can
Like you don't drink alcohol on kayaks.
And you can.
Give us a little bit about your history. Were you born and raised in Oklahoma?
Yeah. So I was born here. I went to school here. I went to school. I went to a few schools. My way of justifying.
Sounds like a good story coming
My
out.
way of justification is it's not the quality, it's the quantity.
Right.
Of schools that you get to go to. I went to a bunch of schools here, and then when I was 17, I went to military school in Missouri.
You,
Yeah.
Jonathon Stranger, military school?
Big time military guy.
Wow.
Yeah. No. It was one of those things. Went to military school, did a semester, and then moved to New York City.
Okay.
My whole maternal family is from New York. My paternal family is mainly from Colorado. So spent summers out there as a kid, and I knew the second I was done with school, which happened a semester early due to a loophole, not intelligence or speedy doing anything. But went out there, worked in New York for a really long time, got to live in Europe and work around for a while, Oregon, and settled back here 8 years ago. Just wanted to take a break from restaurants and developing stuff, and helped a friend open a little organic garden out in El Reno.
Okay.
And what was interesting is for where I'd been cooking and working, I was like, yeah, we'll grow the stuff, and then we'll go to the farmer's market. Anything left over, we'll just take it to the restaurants. It's an easy way to do it. And it was shocking to me at that time that no restaurants were really interested in purchasing any of it. And so, my partner and dear friend was like, this isn't going to work. We grew too much food. And I was like, no, this is perfect, because there's an opportunity here to do something with that. And that's what spawned, which came into Ludivine and restaurants here later on.
Interesting mindset that he saw, I guess, a liability and you saw like an asset.
Oh yeah, huge asset. It's one thing that's really cool about Oklahoma City, and what I think a lot of people here for, is that it's one of the few places left in the U.S. There's more, but it's one of the few places where our generation can define what the city's going to become. Okay. I was just on a business trip out of town, and you get a lot of really weird questions being from Oklahoma these days because our state government has done such a great job making it so easy for us to just walk out there and be super proud. So it's, getting hit with some of those questions like, what's your state's deal with education?
Right.
And all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, we have an opportunity to define what the city is going to become, and you can do it for not super high risk, meaning financially and whatnot. I mean, for me to open a restaurant, I was just in Chicago and we're opening up a spot, and it's $400,000 for a liquor license. It's $1,250 in Oklahoma. So that's money you have to get from a bank or raise or do something, which you don't have to do here. So you have the opportunity to try something and be more bold than you would in other cities.
But less risk.
A lot less risk, which emboldens you to do different things that you may not do in other places.
When you got out of school, was there anything besides food? Was there something before food, or was it from day one? Was it, I know what I'm doing.
There was the only other job I ever thought of having was a hybrid between Jacques Cousteau and Indiana Jones. It's not real.
So with the whip thing,
My
traveling around the world?
My major was marine biology.
Okay.
In New York, and very different.
Okay.
It's lab work and all that. So with cooking, I mean, I had to work to live in Manhattan, so it was a matter of, like, school was here when I went there, and then cooking was here, and it just kind of did this sort of deal. So.
Yeah, so when you look at this guy now, this is the last guy I would imagine, number one, that would go to a military school or be a marine biologist. If we were to kind of guess what his past
Neither one
mentors
worked. Yeah, neither one worked. Neither one worked.
Did the marine biology ever help, like when you cook seafood, or no, not really?
Oh, epically. I mean, yeah, getting to work on like oyster farms and stuff like that. And I'm still really, the science behind food to me is probably one of the most incredible parts behind it.
Okay.
But being able to, get that knowledge and understand how they work and understand why certain things taste the way they do, why to get things from here and there, and aside from the whole, making sure you source everything properly, side of everything, just the science behind it and how everything operates is really interesting.
Got it. So you talked about when the farm issue, you guys tried to sell stuff to and it didn't work. That's kind of what spawned Ludivine. What was the concept there? Is for you guys to basically source the food and present it at the same time? What was the concept of Ludivine?
So the concept is just a restaurant. So it's just a restaurant with a changing menu. A lot of people in the beginning made this big deal that it was farm to table and all that stuff, which is great, but I mean, for me, forever, especially in Europe, everything just comes from a farm. It wasn't like you didn't have these ridiculous menus with the same kind of hip font that had labeled all these farms all over it. It's just, you just know that it comes from farms. So it's really not a matter of going forward, it's a matter of going back to the way restaurants and dining used to be, which is you could only get what's around you. I mean, you got to think about, we only had refrigerated rail cars for a couple of decades? Much more, but so until then, you had to eat what was around you. So that's what was kind of spawned, okay, what's this food and where it is? And in all honesty, when Ludivine opened, it was, even though we got a lot of awards and stuff like that, and chef stuff, business-wise, it wasn't working at all. Because a lot of people that grew up here, when I would say they'd hear farm to table. I mean, we had a farm in Chandler when I grew up, and we fried catfish and ate watermelon, and it was the greatest summer day of my life. But that's not what it was, and still is to this day, from my understanding, is what it is. So we had to find a way, okay, how can we do what we love, keep this philosophy, and make it make sense so this continues to go forward.
Got it.
And when we started, the whole thing was, if we can just change the mindset of the way people are eating and the way people source food in the city, then we've accomplished our goal.
Okay.
So I think we've done that, and so now, next chapter of life is, okay, we were able to do it with one restaurant, and that one restaurant might have been able to change some mindsets, but it's not been able to really affect farms in a very positive way. So it's not a very big occupation, demand for people. They're not like, I want to go work, ungodly hard hours to make a little money.
Right.
So we're working with a group, the first one's in Brooklyn called Square Roots, which is vertical container growing, and trying to find ways to, how can we help better serve the Oklahoma farmer and really develop that, that way. What's the way of going about it? And the fact of the matter is, serving some of the prices of the restaurant before were high. So let's find a way to make this food accessible to everybody and then benefit the community in a better way.
Got it.
That's the mission right now.
Is it up and running, or just in the beginning stages?
First restaurant will open first quarter, second quarter next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got some great names, some kind of big chefs from around the country that are we're implanting them here to help get these things off the ground. So excited about it.
Now, for my history and for the history of some of the people here, Ludivine is one of your ventures, but can you kind of go through some of the other things that you've had your fingers in? Because I didn't realize. Whenever you mention the name Jonathon Stranger, people are like, yeah, I've had his stuff. But can you talk about some of the other things that you've had your fingers in?
Yeah,
Ludivine?
Locally, H&A was a big one. RJ Lounge and Supper Club was big. A lot of different kind of consulting with design and how to make things work. The big thing I've been into lately, which is fun to be in this room, has been tech. Restaurant and ag tech is terrible, so we're working on making that better. Been doing a lot of work with biofeedback tech. So in the world of agriculture, when drone technology and everything that's happening is the ability to, let's say you have a field of cows. You're one guy. You don't know how to get it. You can't go out there and check their blood every day.
Right.
So we're working with basically it's transcutaneous biofeedback to be able to read what the animal needs just off the skin. And so we're trying to figure
Planting sensors on the animal?
just a drone, and it just I think something like that. That's the sound of it. But now we're trying to figure out how do we do that with people.
Okay.
So it's really interesting when you watch animals, particularly bison. They have different potassium licks and vitamin licks out in the field. They just know what they need.
Right.
If you come to me and said, how is your vitamin K levels? I have no idea. I don't know what's going on inside of me, and we tend to eat so much more emotionally and mentally based than animals, even though we are. Is there a way that we can say, okay, for people that want to be healthier, have that quick meal, that quick shake, whatever it is there a way to tell you exactly what you need at that moment in time?
Got it.
So that's what we're working on now.
Sweet. So would it be like a technology based or more of a diagnostic thing? Like when you say tech, I think like you're going to plant something on me that's going to say, oh, Patrick, you need cupcakes or you need sugar. Or
you already have it. I have it. It's just
I don't have it, no.
I have it. You just have an iWatch. So that would be the plan. We're working with Fitbit and the guys at UC Irvine to try to kind of make that get going.
Happen. Okay.
So it's just easy. So it's not some sort of like, it's a restaurant, but it's kind of like a doctor's trip.
Got it.
Which sounds terrible.
Hey, if it gets the job done.
And then I've got to do stuff kind of all over the world, different events and showcases and stuff like that. So there's always something.
Yeah, I remember one of the things we were talking about in the pre-interview was the concept of the excitement of a startup and everything that goes into it. And you said the losing weight and the stress and all that versus the actual running. Which one do you enjoy more? Do you enjoy the day-to-day hustle and bustle of grinding and serving people? Or are you more, does the startup process and not necessarily the licensing process, but the startup process of a venture, which one do you find yourself more attracted to?
I think the startup for me is the most exciting because it's like birth.
Okay.
You're super excited about it. Every day it's growing. You're working with much more people than on a regular basis than you're going to work with just in the kitchen. Just kind of going through the whole process of designing something on a piece of paper from a notepad or a conversation with a friend to seeing it come into reality, the process of creation for me is super exciting. I'd say in the kitchen, obviously cooking is something I really love to do, side with really teaching young people. It's really fun working with young people and seeing someone who's not confident. One day they come in and they're confident in what they're doing and seeing them grow as people is really, really, in the kitchen from this point in my career is probably the most exciting part of the kitchen.
Got it. So when you get someone like that, like say fresh behind the ears or whatever, do you have a preference of working with people that have gone through the culinary school and have all that formal training and think they know what they know or they don't know what they don't know? Or do you prefer kind of just getting someone raw who doesn't necessarily have culinary skills, but maybe is just really highly interested in it and eager to learn?
When I look for people that I want to work with, resume is a piece of paper. They could have just faked it.
Right.
I never did that.
Okay, never?
No.
Never?
But it doesn't really mean much to me in the kitchen because it's about performance.
Okay.
And I think that's a lot of jobs where I will take someone who has a strong work ethic, 1,000 times over I'll take their resume. If you're willing to show up every day, work hard, put in the extra hours of research or coming up with dishes outside of the kitchen, I want that person more than I would want the person that got straight A's at school.
Okay.
I just think that a person who's willing to work really hard to accomplish something is much more valuable, especially in a kitchen, than someone who thinks they already know everything. Not that that person can't, but you run into that sometimes.
And again, talking about that topic a little bit, and getting into detail in the kitchen, because I'm a horrible cook. I'm a guy who lives out of my microwave kind of cook. In your world, when people are grilling or cooking or whatever, where do you see people nowadays kind of shortcutting things and getting lazy when it comes to cooking? If that's even, one of the questions that came to my mind when I was thinking about talking to you is, I am the ultimate shortcutter. I am the, what's the soup cup, boil the water and put the soup cup kind of thing in there, let it sit for 3 minutes. I'm the ultimate shortcut. But in your world, behind the scenes, where are people screwing themselves over kind of by shortcutting things?
I would say the implementation of modern technology into the kitchen is a hindrance. The new generation of cooks are really into that stuff,
Right.
which is great, but they can't properly season a salad.
Okay.
So they might know how to sous vide anything, which anybody can read, can look at YouTube now, can figure out how to do gourmet food with a sous vide.
Right.
But it's all those little elements that make it go together.
Okay.
The problem with shortcutting in a kitchen is the best way to explain a restaurant is like Georges Seurat, pointillism style painting, where it's thousands of tiny little dots that have to come together to make a beautiful picture. It's not a beautiful picture, then you try to deconstruct it backwards. It just won't work.
Okay.
So that's really how they have to go about doing it. But the other thing is that now we're finding a way to create shortcuts intentionally. So instead of spending literally 18 to 30 hours making a stock to braise stuff, we just now freeze dry our own bouillon cubes, basically, and just use those for stock. It's a lot less expensive, it's a lot less time consuming, but it's using technology to create a very purposeful shortcut.
But the quality doesn't suffer in the process.
No, quality it's actually better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it so that the freeze-dried bouillon cubes? Because I use those too.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for people to go, okay, I'll walk you through making a stock. There's chopping of vegetables, cleaning herbs, getting bones broken down, getting them roasted, getting it on, water, wine. It just takes a long time.
Right.
So when I can go, hey, I need a stock, we're short for service, it's a lot easier to take a homemade bouillon cube, just drop it and just throw it in the water.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's intentional.
Got it. Let's talk a little bit more about Oklahoma. You've talked about the fact that it's easy to start things here. It's easy to experiment and fail fast here versus a $400,000 liquor license. Are there other things that kind of keep you in Oklahoma besides the fact that it's inexpensive? Because you're a brilliant person. You could take these ideas you have and you could up and move to Chicago. Or you could up and move to New York or LA or San Diego and do those things. But what else keeps you in Oklahoma besides the fact that it's what, $1,500 for a liquor license?
Yeah, my wife.
Okay.
Mainly, wife and kids. Her whole family lives here.
Okay.
My mom's here part-time. It's funny, I moved back to Oklahoma to be with my family, and they went to where I was. Like, guys. So, I mean, that's a big part of it. You always say location.
Right.
In 2017, it does. If you're selling something on the street, it matters. But in terms of marketing yourself as a business, we have social media, so many other tools that, I mean, yeah, I started my solo career, I don't know what you call it, here in Oklahoma, but I've been able to do stuff all over the world because of what I was able to do here.
Right.
Not because I went to those places and did them,
Got it.
sort of deal. I got plucked out of Oklahoma to work with other people. And I think some of the people that we've been bringing in from out of town that come to Oklahoma, it's nice. A friend of ours that lives in New York, who's we're working with, thinks it's like coming to Oklahoma City is like coming to a country club. It's like everybody's nice, everything looks clean. I'm like, I know. I haven't thought of it that way, but I like that. So I mean, family's a big part of why I stay here. It's kind of easy to do stuff. Just the ease of living. I mean, when I'm out in LA and you have to rent a car and it takes 2 hours to drive 4 miles, it's kind of annoying.
Right.
But it's because I was able to do that stuff here. Was this the plan? No, it wasn't the plan. But it's all about, adaptation and change and making the best of, where you are and figuring out how to reach it out.
Got it.
Sort of deal. I mean, it's amazing how many people that I've met in business in Oklahoma City that may not even do business in Oklahoma City, do it on a worldwide scale,
Right.
but are based out of here for the same reasons.
For those of you that, if you saw the video, there were two big bodies in there. Mine, you can't miss, it's the one on the left. But the one on the right was Tracy Zeke, and we had her here last month. I know you have a venture, kind of a partnership venture with her. Can you talk about that briefly? Yeah,
we opened up En Croûte together in December of last year.
Where is it?
It's in Nichols Hills Plaza.
Okay.
Kind of a Euro-style dining. I'm not a big fan of the American breakfast.
Okay.
It's just, I don't really eat breakfast anymore. I don't really eat is the problem. That's why this exists. This is not from working out at all.
Right.
This is just malnutrition.
And I make up for it with this right here. So
we're like a hybrid vehicle.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's perfect.
One of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, so we got that up and going, and it's kind of a European style place, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Really trying to focus on, it's almost all of it's local. I don't really, I'm not trying to attach. Unfortunately, I feel like terms like farm to table, artisanal, handmade, handcrafted, pick one,
Right.
have just become these non-synonymous terms that are used for marketing. So it's like, let's just be a restaurant and be nothing
Not
more.
apply any special
and if people
verbiage to it.
ask,
Right.
tell them.
Right.
I don't want a 4-page menu because you named all the farms on it. So that's kind of on Crude and what it's doing now, and then we have their specials and do our special dinners. And then St. Mark's, which is, it's not a steakhouse.
Right.
So over in Europe, you have a steakhouse, then you have like a chop house. So chop house is considerably less expensive than a steakhouse.
Okay, that was my first question. What's the difference?
Yeah,
From a guy that eats a lot of steak, steak is steak.
It's less expensive,
Okay.
and that whole entire menu, except there is one dish that has crab, is local.
Okay.
I mean, we're exclusively using a local, it's actually Wagyu, really, really, really high-end Wagyu beef, but we're able to sell it at a fraction of the price against our competitors because there's literally no middleman.
Okay,
I mean, we go, it's butchered on site, and we bring it up here and we serve it to you.
got it.
It's super
And
simple.
where's that located?
Macomb.
Macomb.
Macomb is south of Shawnee.
Got
I
it.
don't even know if there's a town. There must be a town because that's where I mail the check to. But
Right.
I've never seen the town of Macomb.
Okay.
I don't know if it exists.
But that's where the restaurant is.
That's where the ranch is.
Oh, that's where the ranch
Yeah,
is?
so we're literally the St. Mark's is right next door to On Crude.
Oh, okay, I got it. That's the part I missed. Is they were side by
we
side.
took the space and just made the kitchen bigger in the back, and then the front. So it's two in essence different dining rooms with different menus.
But same shared kitchen?
Same shared kitchen.
Same shared kitchen. Got it, okay. Nichols Hills Plaza.
Yeah,
Has anyone been to either On Crude or the what'd you think?
pretty good.
What did you have out of curiosity?
A lot of cheese.
I heard it was a cheese and wine place. Anybody
Yeah.
else over here on this side? What did you have? What was it? Omelets were really good?
Yeah, Dutch Babies. What's up?
Got it.
That's my favorite one.
So you talked about when we were doing the interview on the roof, and I asked you about who inspires you. Tracy was right there in front of you, and you said her.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, besides Tracy, who else do you look to in Oklahoma that for creativity or to bounce ideas off of or things like that? Who else kind of inspires you in Oklahoma City?
In Oklahoma City, Tommy, for one of them. We get to bounce off stuff and we've gotten to travel together and do stuff. Man, I'm trying to think of anyone in particular.
We know Tracy.
Yeah, everyone knows Tracy, like the greatest storyteller of all time.
Yep.
I don't know, that's a tough one. I've never thought about that.
I'll come back.
Yeah,
I'll
come back
to
to
it.
that one.
This is a kind of a really weird question, but the weird questions are the really good ones. Do you have a part of the city that you prefer working in? Are you more of a Nichols Hills North Side kind of person, or do you prefer to kind of keep it downtown or South Side, or?
That's an interesting question right now, because right now, okay, so I love downtown and the energy behind it.
Right.
As the business person, I don't love that there's like no people that live there yet. We don't have that dense residential mass that a bigger city has yet.
Right.
But I love personally being downtown.
Okay.
I love the energy behind it and kind of the excitement behind it, but there's such this overwhelming growth of restaurants right now that everyone's having a really hard time making it because the population isn't growing at that same rate.
So we're getting saturated with restaurants, but the population isn't keeping up, kind of thing.
Right, and it's becoming very almost, the nightclub business, which I would never get involved in, it's very flash in the pan. You're in, you're out. And I see that kind of happening with restaurants in the downtown thing,
Right.
which it's new, it's hip, it's great, and then then something else opens a month later. So that's tough. I'm really interested to see what happens with South Oklahoma City, the South Side. My favorite food is on the South Side of Oklahoma City to eat. I got asked earlier, like, where do I go eat? I don't eat, if I can make it, I'm not gonna eat it.
Right.
But I'm not going to, I also don't have a pantry at home that has everything that I can get at Cafe Wakenya or Des Lavados on the South Side. Or there's
Say those again. Which ones were they?
Cafe Wakenya
Okay.
and Des Lavados. One's like Mexican, like real Oaxacan Mexican entrees, and one is tacos.
Okay.
I mean, he doesn't love tacos.
I'm going to go back through the footage and write those down.
Yeah,
because
but
my
they're
wife's
phenomenal.
really into Mexican food.
So I generally eat ethnic food when I'm out.
Okay.
But I think Southside, there's some amazing architecture. If everything that Oklahoma City's trying to do continues to grow south, I think it'd be really interesting to see what happens there. I mean, some of the coolest buildings are down there ever. And I also think the north side, especially when you start to get into Edmond and Guthrie is a sick town, man. Like that downtown Guthrie is cool.
It's walkable. That's what I love about it.
Well, It's small.
Yeah.
It's really walkable, but I think
It's walkable if you have long legs too. I mean,
Yeah.
you can get from any place in like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
to
there's
5 minutes
this
to
like
Guthrie.
small town like Americana like romanticism with Guthrie that I have in my mind, but a lot of these areas are pretty, relatively speaking, underserved. You know, there was that weird let's have the biggest landmass of a city in the country movement, which turns out really bad for public services.
Right.
Really bad. So they always kind of move. I mean, I'm happy wherever I am as long as I'm doing what I enjoy doing.
Okay.
But each little part of the city definitely has each one is starting to have a unique flavor more and more and more.
Okay.
You know,
Got it.
I think it's kind of interesting how many named neighborhoods and districts there are in such a small space, which is really strange to me.
One of the things I actually noticed when I moved to Oklahoma is I never realized that when you look at a map, every single thing has a name to it. And growing up on the West Coast, it wasn't like that. So I live on 6714 Irvine. Irvine is a street by itself. It didn't have a name like we have here.
Yeah, like Manhattan has as many neighborhoods as like Midtown at this point, so it's really strange. But I like it. I like that people take ownership for what they are and try to set themselves out individually. I'm just really, the thing I do like about downtown, and what I think we'll see more so in the South Side, is I want to see Oklahoma City become more and more Oklahoma City. And that might sound really obvious, but Northwest Expressway, Memorial Road, these kind of big traffic things, they're just the same. They might have different names there, but it's the same stuff in essence. So to really see an area, like when we went into Midtown, I think it was us and McNelly's back then, was really want to see these areas become themselves, locally owned, quirky, weird, especially living in Oregon. Portland makes no sense at all, and that's what's so great about it. There's so many stores, I'm like, how does this even exist? But it does, and it thrives, and I want to see that kind of go more and more and more and more.
Got it. Part of our time is supposed to be spent with some questions from you guys, so as ideas pop into your head, please raise your hand. Does anyone have something off the top of your head? Yes, back there in the back.
Yeah, we did that for one summer. Can
you repeat the question?
This is like Jeopardy now.
Yeah, well, we got to get it
the
on
question,
tape.
the question was the farm in Carlton Landing we did 2 summers ago, and what was that like? That was it was a hard experience, leaving, mainly for me, driving back and forth. But the cool part about that was being able to kind of drive this food-driven community and kind of help them get down that path of where they were trying to go. I think a lot of people have the idea of, wouldn't it be great if we just had a farm and a little restaurant right here? Like, it's going to require so much more work than you ever know. But it was really fun to be a part of getting in with that community and kind of help try to get that into the thread of what it was. And I think that year was definitely successful. And from my understanding, we got some local people to run it and get it going now. So the 2.5 hours, 4 or 5 times a week was, and I'm in a little electric car, so it was not going to work at all.
Got it. Yes, sir. Yeah.
There are a handful of restaurants here that would never have survived 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of years, the Drake, people in Oklahoma were not willing to try that kind of food, to eat that kind of food on a regular basis. What's next? I mean, where do you go? And why is that? Is it because of young people moving here from other cities, or is it just people being more willing to get out of eating potatoes? I mean, what does the next 10 years look like?
So I think I'll answer. So the first question is why do we see all these new places? For instance, Tamashi Ramen, right? I don't want to get that wrong. It's a single idea, which 10 years ago would never work. Like, we serve this and it won't work, and it's working now, which is great. I think a big part of that is the internet and the kind of growth of the chef becoming a known person, or a celebrity, where you have all these different channels, you have all this access to all this food that other people are eating, so you just want to try it, which has been huge for the culinary industry around the world. Where Oklahoma City is going to go, I think to really become a foodie destination city or a driven city, we need to land kind of in the middle. There's a lot of restaurants that I've worked for that are these super high-end $250, $300 a person meals. I personally feel that won't work in Oklahoma City as an existing business. You can have little one-offs like that all the time. So the super high-end fine dining would be really tough to pull off. And the only fine dining we have here is steakhouse, which is very different than fine dining. So I would love to see Oklahoma City position itself, which I think is the direction it's going, where these, cost-wise, they're very approachable, but doing very forward-thinking ideas with the food. position ourselves similar to like, a lot of people don't realize that like Los Angeles, which is not expensive to eat in Los Angeles at all. There are high-end, restaurants, but it's pretty much a mid-growth city where it doesn't have to be a thing to go eat there, where it's just super approachable. You can be on your way home and decide to go try something new, or you can want to go out and have a good time. So that's where I hope that we go, is these kind of small boutique style restaurants, because that's what I personally love, that are doing different things, and a population that accepts it more and more and more. But we're going to have a lot more acceptance on more penetration of the whole population for that to sustain itself over 10 years.
Got it. Good question. Anybody else right now? Before I get mine, Will.
What's your motivation? What's your motivation for fuels your passion?
Man,
What's your motivation? What fuels your passion?
yeah, motivation fuels passion. I mean, the quick, easy, honest answer is having children now. I mean, make me push to want to do more and more and more and more. But I'm also incredibly grateful to be able to support my family while doing what I love. I didn't have to just be like, I had kids, I need to go get a job and do that. I wouldn't work in an office setting. It's just the way that I am. But I think what drives me is the idea of creation, and the idea of knowing that, some people might say we're trying to create the greatest meal of your life or the greatest evening of your life. And that's not what I'm trying to do anymore. Okay. I would rather focus on just giving someone a really great moment. So if you had a bad day at work, we're just a better moment than that day. Where you're creating these little special things for people. And then when you start from, we have no money, here's what we want to do, to getting to that point and seeing it happen is great. When I got a tweet the other day out and someone said that their kids were super happy and were going to vote for best chef, that was like the greatest award so far this year by far. Just knowing that some little kids are enjoying what we're doing, because now I can make the moment accessible to them as opposed to, in the past, someone who's going to spend $100 beforehand. So it's just, that's a really, really cool feeling, to just start with your hands literally in the dirt and then serve them something and having them enjoy it and be able to enjoy it consistently. That's pretty cool.
Lori.
Related to that, what inspires your creativity?
Everything. I mean, I think for me, I can't speak for other people, but being in food especially, there's so many things that can influence what you do. It's something I see that I want to get into a plate. It's just the design. Design is a huge thing that I love to be a part of, so how can we create that and mimic that out of food, which is really fun. I mean, my kids going to farms, whether it could be just having a catering and seeing an interesting cupcake combination and going, okay, cool, instead of a cupcake, how do we do that with fish? So that's kind of always driving through there. But yeah, it has to be everything, and when it's super hot outside, that drives creativity. Like, how do I not deal with this heat ever? How do I make it okay? So there's always little things, and traveling, I think, is the biggest thing for me, because it's just like I think when you get in your daily grind, you slowly but surely, this tunnel vision starts to happen. And for myself, it's very key to keep stopping those walls from closing in and getting singularity focused. Yeah.
Corey's brother, I think it's awesome. I mean, last name is great.
Yeah.
Creativity and everything, but how can Oklahoma City get more outdoor experiences and eatery and stuff like that? We have so many weather elements and everything. It's so awesome to go to Dallas or Austin and eat outside.
Oh yeah.
Lake and eat outside, but we don't have a whole lot of that.
So the biggest problem with that is Oklahoma City was built north to south, so all entrances are north and south. And the death ray that's up in the sky right now goes east and west. So the problem is the way that the city was laid out, it's horrible for outdoor dining, especially like right now. It's coming back more and more and more. I mean, forever, when I moved back, it was like Bellini's, which still has the best patio. I wish they would do more with it. It's the greatest patio ever. But
Bellini's, you said?
yeah, that patio, they got the pond and there's swans. It's great. It's got misters. There's a whole bar out there that they never turn on for some reason.
A bar and misters. That's all I had to hear.
Bar,
right there.
misters, and geese.
Okay.
Kids love the geese. It's cool. But no, I think Blue Garden has changed a lot of people's mind. Whatever your feelings are, I personally do believe that the earth is getting warmer. So when it's December and I'm wearing t-shirts and jeans in Oklahoma, you can go outside now. The biggest issues we battle are wind, so you have dust and everything that comes with it. And I think all of us are okay with tornadoes don't bother outdoor dining. You can see them and just get inside, you're fine. So I would like to see it become a lot better. I love that Blue Garden has been incredibly successful. I think it's going to be little things like that that everyone's going to start to attach to and be like, oh, okay, cool, that really worked. But it always takes someone, breaking through the wall to make that happen. And they did it successfully.
Yeah. This, if you have another question, just hold on for a second, because I know it's a cliche of a question, and I think we've kind of danced around a little bit, but if you were to talk, because this whole series is about start doing something and getting people off of their butts and getting things going, what do you tell people when they ask you about the business side, the entrepreneurship, is how do I get started? How do I take that first step? How do I get past that fear? Do you have any kind of core advice?
Yeah, once you have the idea, just roll with it. I mean, if you love the idea, I think a lot of times people run into their biggest first fear is, I have this great idea, but it's going to cost millions of dollars to do. It never does. Like, it means if you want to be like Elon Musk and take us to space, you got to have some coin. But stick with the idea. No matter what people say, if you believe in it, stick with it. Everyone told me that Ludovine was a terrible decision. The location was bad. Nobody's going to understand your food. Like, you can't run just doing 5 nights a week. It'll never work. But I've seen it work so many other places and been part of it that I knew it was going to work. And I think what really helped was the passion and joy we had of doing it slowly took on the people that started coming. So if you love something, other people, and you have that energy behind you that shows it, people will be attracted to it and come to it. But don't doubt yourself. And if you do go all the way down that road and fail, that's okay. Like, you stuck to what you wanted to do. I failed, we've had 3 successful restaurants now in Oklahoma?
Out of?
Oh, shit, man. Pardon my language. But, like, I mean, I talked about the trailer park hotel.
No, we were
going to build a trailer park hotel in the middle of downtown.
Okay.
It's glorious. Like, so you asked who motivates me. Wade Scaramucci, who's an architect from here, lives in London, but works here a lot, is just the weirdest genius you'll ever meet. But we designed this sick hotel, and it was we call it the hermit crab concept. So if impermanence matters, so if these restaurants are flash in the pan, and they do really well for 6 months to a year, then they just dive off because something else is open, how do you capture that 1 year? So the whole plan was to hermit crab into abandoned spaces, which there's a lot of. Not abandoned, just people might own it, they do nothing with it.
Open lots,
Yeah, like Western Oklahoma's like all owned, but there's nothing there. Is how do you hermit crab into these spaces? So the hermit crab idea was to trick out these old Airstreams and Spartans, and one of them was going to be like at the kitchen and the rooms and the host stand, and just roll them in. And it was the greatest idea ever, and then nobody would put money into it. Business-wise, it probably would have been a disaster.
Did you get like any traction at all? Did you even buy a trailer or no?
No, never.
It crashed and burned.
No, we designed the thing to a T, and then we never bought it, a single thing.
Got it.
That's one of the ones that's probably my favorite to have done. I mean, I've worked on projects that we're trying to get one going off the ground right now that it's just not going to happen. I mean, it's something that we're super excited about, and like I said before, like, I keep all the files and all the designs for everything we do. But it's just, the hardest part sometimes is getting people to believe in with their wallet what you're trying to do. And so some of those work and some don't. My brother-in-law is a screenwriter. Yeah, brother-in-law is a screenwriter out in Los Angeles, and he's done really well with with some independent movies, but done really well with some big movies. And I was like, why did you even do that movie? And he's like, you have to do Titanic so you can do everything else. Sort of deal. So we've thankfully had the Titanic, and so it's a matter of doing these fun, different things, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to start something soon that's not going to work. But it's okay, it's not. I'm good with not. I'm young, so I can fix it later on. That's the way I look at it.
Would you say that you experience either this word directly or a word like this, like with your maturity, something like a fear or a panic to this day? Do you think you experience fear when you're starting up something?
Oh yeah. Fear is a very, very healthy tool. Fear is something, when you let it win, is very bad. But when you use it, it's incredibly helpful. Yeah, I mean, I hold on to fear all the time, but I try to keep it in a healthy way. Because I know what I'm doing may not work. I know what I'm doing might have friends involved with it in some way it could affect them. So you have to mitigate that fear. And I mean, the amount of research and spreadsheets you can do, it's all guesses. So there's always this little bit of fear in there, but I let it drive me to make sure it is successful. You know, okay, we have a problem with this part of it. Like anybody who starts a business runs into something. This could just derail the whole thing.
Right.
Someone's already figured it out. It's 2017. There's a lot of us. Someone's probably had something similar to the idea and figured it out. And the information is there. You just got to go find it. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. Because I think oftentimes that fear is what kind of triggers that previous question we had about just not getting off the porch kind of thing. I think fear is one of the main blocks.
Yeah, if it paralyzes you, then it's bad.
Huh? Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it can
set you on fire. It can make you lock up, freeze, either way. So
yeah, before Ludovine opened, I got sued for my very first time, and I was living with a friend, and I was crying on the floor one night. And he was like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "We're being sued." And he's in oil and gas. He's like, "I get sued all the time." And I was like, "So it's cool." He's like, "How much is it?" I was like, "It's like $5,000." He's like, "Just get up and just go." I'm like, "All right."
got it.
So, but for me, it was a lot. It was the first one. It scared the crap out of me, you know.
So nowadays, when a lawsuit comes in, it's like, oh, whatever.
Well, they don't happen so much anymore. We're so far, we're good on lawsuits. But if it was, it's like, well, a lawsuit is just a really intense negotiation.
Is that what it is?
That's basically what I've learned.
And there may be our poll quote right there.
Yeah.
A lawsuit is just a really intense negotiation. Our HR guy is over here shaking his head. Yeah, that's all it is right there. Any other questions for Jonathan as we kind of head towards the end here? Yes, over here in the corner.
For people who have these ideas, but they don't know how to just go do them, I actually had a friend that had a farm, like a restaurant. What would be your first advice on in an accountant, talk to a lawyer, go about get an LLC? What's your real first step?
My real logistical first step, depending on the idea, is starting an LLC is always quick and easy. So that just kind of gets you down the road. So you can, it's one of those pieces you have to have as you move through the process of opening bank accounts and doing all that and get your EIN number. That's kind of the boring stuff, but it's very important. That's an easy, quick first step. If your idea really is great, I think we have like 17 patents in process right now for different things, is really focus on that and protect yourself. You know, if you know you have a really valuable idea, make sure you take care of it, but don't let that consume you. I mean, keep going forward. That is important. Like I said, there's billions of us, and someone else is already working on it. Some of the stuff that we're working on, I know someone else is working on it, so we have to be faster, we have to be stronger, and how do we do that? That, and also another great first step is a lot of people are generally tend to be afraid to go ask other people's opinion because they might hold on to their idea really strongly and they don't take that criticism. You have to be willing to take criticism and be okay with it. And you got to remember, criticism only exists to the listener. So it's only you who think it's criticism. So you have to realize the person's probably giving you advice if you think of it that way, and then go forward with it. I mean, ever since when I first started cooking, there was no Yelp or any of this crap. Chefs have a feeling about Yelp, but there was none of that stuff. So now I have to look at it. Some of it I'm like, all right, that was a little harsh, right? I'll take it. But some of it's like, oh, we actually did screw up, we can get better. And some of it's just, it's bullshit. Pardon my language, but there's no other way to describe it. So go ask and out people. I mean, when we did On Crude, I did multiple tastings of totally different menu items, things that I really wanted to put on the menu, but aren't on the menu because nobody liked it. I loved it. You know, I love really tiny, oily, I love bait fish. That's my favorite thing to eat. In Oklahoma, it's called bait. So people are like, I'm not eating bait. I'm like, it's delicious. So you're missing out, not me. So, but we didn't put it on the menu, you know? So always be open to put your idea out there to people you trust and see what they say and get some feedback, because they might have that. I just got an email about something we're working on from the realtor of all people who had this incredible idea. Simply because in the last meeting I was in, I was like, if any of you have any ideas, you have all my contact information. Please digest everything we just talked about, and if you have an idea or whatever, throw it at me. And it's a lot better idea than I had, and it came from the realtor. Great.
Tons of great ideas out there.
There's tons of great ideas out there.
You don't hang on to your own. That's the
Everyone in this room has had an amazing idea that was probably worth $1 million and didn't do anything with it. I have. I know you have. You're always thinking.
Who's that? Way that back in the back there.
That's Kayla.
Yeah, I can't see her. I saw her this morning. We had a good coffee conversation this morning over at Elemental. By the way, have you ever, raise your hand if you have been to Ludovine restaurant and or bar. Okay, not very many of you, and this is not, I swear this is not because he's here. That is my favorite bar to go to. Because Colby and those guys over there, it doesn't feel like a bar, it feels like a chemistry lab. The vials and bottles and chemicals and things they have, what's that thing they do where they have a blowtorch behind the bar? because they braise something in some drink behind the bar. I mean, that is the most, I swear that is my favorite bar. When my wife is out of town, that's where you usually find me on a Friday or Saturday night is Ludovine Bar with Colby right there. I'll just say, make me something. He comes out with something that's half on fire with a stick and a lemon through it. It's just, make sure you get a chance to try some of these places he's talking about here. And what were those two Mexican places on the south side?
Cafe Huaqueña and Des Lavados.
Okay.
And then one of my that Taste of Korea, which was Amy's Noodles forever. Dude, that place is like magic. I mean, it's Korean food.
Right.
You know, I've worked in different Southeast Asian cuisines, so to actually get it, it's like, I'm super excited. And then there's my other place is Tsubaki. Have you been up to Tsubaki? This guy was the #2 sushi chef at Masa in Columbus Circle in New York City, which is the #1 sushi place in the United States. I think North America, maybe just US. He's from China. He did all this research on where a great place to start a business was. And he ended up on Memorial and MacArthur, sandwiched between a Jimmy John's and an orange leaf. It makes no sense, but you go in and the sushi,
Oh, yes.
it's so tiny. And the sushi is phenomenal.
I go to that Jimmy John's all the time. It's right next door there. That's right up my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I get gas on one side and I get Jimmy John's on the other side. I didn't realize that sushi place.
Get gas and now get sushi.
Got it, over there.
He does this like salmon thing literally on barbecue Pringles.
Right.
Change your life.
Oh, it's a Pringle.
It's
There's
so
no
good.
bad thing on a
So
Pringle.
good.
Here's a question. Here's a bizarre question that I was also wondering. When for people that are professionals like you, when you get home and you take off the apron or whatever, are you like a microwave and hot dog kind of guy? Or at home in the kitchen, do you make an extravagant meal just like you do when you're at work?
I'm like what my 4-year-old and 1.5-year-old will eat kind of guy. Yeah, it's the old, we talked about this earlier, it's, the guy that makes the shoes never has any shoes.
Right.
At home, I do not have a chef kitchen. I do not have we do live out east, but there's no big elaborate garden. I do all that at work. So when I get home, I just want to hang out with the family.
Hot dogs and ketchup?
And have
hot dogs
fun.
and ketchup?
My daughter is on a hot dog phase. I blame my in-laws for taking her to Sonic. I'm not a huge fast food guy. But I would rather, eating is more about enjoying the table than it is about what's in front of you for me.
Right.
So it's a lot, I would much rather be everyone's friend as the chef as opposed to being the guy at the very top who's freaking out to try to stay on top all the time.
Right.
I'd much rather be able to serve a family style meal and enjoy it with people as opposed to freaking out about it all the time. But yeah, I think last night we had, my wife and I had leftover lo mein, it's delicious, and quesadillas for the kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Had a lot of quesadillas from my daughter growing up also. What did we eat on the rooftop? I can't remember. It was a lot of meat. That's what I remember.
We had leg steak.
Okay.
So everyone knows the big three, which is strip, ribeye, and tenderloin off animals, and which is the majority of where it goes to. Those are, besides ribeye, to me like the most flavorless of any of an animal.
Right.
So we actually we took a piece of lamb and just cut it on a thin bias and just grilled it like a steak.
Okay.
I thought it was pretty good. And then we just had some pork sausage and just good summer vegetables.
Got it.
I mean, so far I've been able to figure it out. I think anything can be amazing. It's just a matter of putting it together correctly.
Okay.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Got it.
Yeah, but I always believe my life now in the culinary world is simplicity is where beauty can lie the most. It's the most difficult thing to do something simple. So a good way to, like a young cook you asked about.
Right.
I asked them how to make French onion soup. You have 4 ingredients. If you mess up, you have broth, onions, bread, and cheese. If you mess up any one of those 4 ingredients, it's a terrible dish. So how do you make sure each one of those goes? Do you like raw onion that's cooked in broth, or are they caramelized first? What kind of broth are you using? What kind of bread are you using? Does it sink down? Does the cheese melt and go over the cap? That's what I personally like. Or is it is the cheese too dense and it floats down? All those little things can screw up something as simple as French onion soup very, very quickly.
Right.
But when it's done right, it's exceptional.
So I'm the kind of guy that's the French onion soup in the packet. That's not how I should be doing it.
If you like it, do it, man.
Got it.
You got one life.
Got it.
Be happy with it. That's what it is. I mean, it's funny. People, when I go out of town, people are like, it's really weird that, where you're at in your career, but it seems like sometimes the notoriety should be more. And I'm like, well, in Oklahoma, I might do some dish that if it was in New York would be like, ooh, but someone's favorite dish might be country fried steak or chicken fried steak, whatever you want to call it. And that's fine. That's awesome. You know, I think you should eat what you enjoy.
Got it.
As long as, and, you know, and try to get some vegetables.
Okay. Try to.
Yeah.
As we're wrapping up here, I would like to take any last minute questions from the audience. Are there any last minute? Just, it could be, no pun intended, it could be like a really strange question about him, about entrepreneurship or food world. No?
Tell us about H&A. You haven't said anything about it.
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah.
Nerve.
Yeah, I know. So H&8 was obviously a great success, and it was a lot of fun. The original model of H&8, which was, and it spawned a lot of events like it, H&8 was originally like, I think, 2 food trucks that friends owned and some bands that friends were in to try to get people down to, it was myself, JD, and Laura from Elemental, like, let's just get people down here so this might work. And it did. It worked really, really, really well. We never expected what H&8 would become. And so the model for which we built H&8 was a very simple nonprofit. Well, when you're doing literally 30,000 people once a month, it doesn't work. And it just became, it was basically 5 people working, you know, a full-time job to make that thing work, which was a lot of fun. And the community response was amazing. But it was so funny, like the night of H&8, towards the end, we were like, are you gonna be out and about checking anything? No, I was in the kitchen. It was just, that thing was such a monster. I did not want to be out in it, but I'm really was shocked at how well it did and what it spurred. And if I would have known better, probably would have bought a lot of real estate in the area in the beginning because it's gone skyrocket. So, and I love the fact that they keep doing it. I stopped doing it in 15, 16 after one of our trips because it was just running 2 restaurants and this massive, basically the state fair every month. Was just so much work.
Really what it was when you think about it, yeah.
And it was, I mean, it was cool. It was, my favorite part of H&8 was the creation. Like as it grew, it got exciting because you could go, okay, now we have to deal with this block. What's on this block? Is it more music? Is it, you know, Dead Center came out and did some, you know, we did a whole blow up thing for independent films. How can we use this event to highlight what's happening in our community in different forms that makes sense in the evening? That you can have a local beer and hang out and have a good time. So it's not just all truck music. I kind of said in the video, I get really bored of things really quickly. It's like, how do we keep adding more to it and making it cooler? And it kept going and kept working and kept working. And then it was like, hey, we don't have literally any money and we don't have enough toilets. What do we do? And I was like, I don't really want to do that job anymore. So it was fun. I'm glad it's still going. I think things like Herd on Herd that are happening at Edmond is awesome. They do a much better job than we ever did running the whole thing. It's just impressive they're able to continually do it as well as they have. So kudos to them, for sure.
That's a good question, Lauren.
Yeah.
Okay, at this point in time, I think we have some closing announcement, which could you please help me put your hands together and thank Mr. Jonathon Stranger for his time today.
Thank you.
Sir, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Am I done?
Yeah. Can you hang around for a little bit though and answer questions?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have to like run off and cook some shank or something like that in place?
No.
No, okay. So he'll be